Welcome to today's webinar. Hope everyone's doing well. We have a great presentation today. We'll be talking about learn how to deliver an amazing user experience using HPE's AppPulse Suite. And today's webinar is brought to us by Hewlett-Packard Enterprise. I'm your host today. My name is Ajay Pandey, and I'm in software quality, and I work for Authix Inc., and I'm also a Florida user group leader. We have a fabulous lineup today of speakers. We have with us Joe Alcaraz, Senior Product Manager, Hewlett-Packard Enterprise. We also have Lyron Lichterman, Senior Marketing Manager with Hewlett-Packard Enterprise. And Dan Luster will be with us too. He's the Senior Technical Marketing Manager for Hewlett-Packard Enterprise. So welcome, gentlemen. And a few housekeeping items. So it's a live session for the benefit of our web members. We will post the recording of the webinar after the webinar is ended, which will be available to all our members. And slide deck will be available to our members as well, and it will be sent to you by the email. If you want to enlarge the presentation, you can click on the rectangle on the upper right-hand corner of the presentation, and you can enlarge the screen. We will have a short Q&A session. If you have any question, you can type in the Q&A panel on the left-hand side of your screen. Simply type your question and then click on the Ask button. To ask question and receive them in your native language, click on the flag in the left corner of your screen, which will launch a language selector box. Next, click on the radio button next to your language and click on Apply, and you're all set. So let's get started. I will pass it over to Lyron.
All right. Thank you, Ajay. Can you hear me?
Yes. Thank you.
Okay, great. So thank you, everybody, for joining this webinar. In this webinar, as Ajay was just mentioned, we're going to talk about user experience and how to deliver a fantastic user experience using the HPE AppPulse Suite. My name is Leon Lichterman, and I'm part of the product marketing team for the APM stack. Together with me, Joe, the product management, and Dan, which working together with me on the marketing side. The agenda for today is the welcome that we already over, so 5 minutes off my time. We're going to spend 20 minutes regarding talking about user experience and talking about the AppPulse Suite overview. Then we dedicated 30 minutes in order to show the demo itself. We will try to squeeze the 4 modules into the 30 minutes. It will be a very tight, but I guess that you will get the idea what we can deliver, and we are always available for another time personally with you. The last 5 minutes we will do some kind of Q&A. We asked the Vivid gentlemen if we can stay a little bit more on the line, and we got an approval. So if we need more time, we have more time. With that being said, let's start our discussion. So the UX is like a road trip. It is not about a destination. It's not about moving from location A to location B, about completing a task. It is about the way to the destination. It's about the journey itself. The car, the road, the music, the way itself is the user experience. And the same goes with digital user experience. It's not only about completing a task. It is about the way of doing a task, and this is user experience. when we're looking at Gartner, this is the way that Gartner kind of defined the user experience. So user experience is the perceived quality when the user is doing a work task. And I think this is kind of the way that we define it, like this is the way of doing a task and not only doing the task itself. When we talk about user experience, first of all, I think this is obvious that user experience is kind of subjective topic for each one of us. And each one of us can define what is good for him and bad for him. But typically when we're trying to quantify it and we're trying to put it into a bucket, we do have some kind of examples and leading buckets for user experience. So the first example is the utility, right? Does the application fulfill its purpose at the end of the day? Another example is the value. At the end of the day, you're working hard, you download the application. Probably you've also been asked to provide an email address and a few other details, and then it's better that the application will provide the value, the expected value, in a good quality. Another example is the empowerment. So this one I really like because recently I tried to use one of the applications for a famous flighting company, and while trying to change my ticket, I was not really sure what will happen if I will push the button. So at the end of the day, yes, I could do it. I can try to push it, but my personal feeling about this timing was, oh, it's a little bit strange. I don't really want to use it, and I will switch to another application to try and do it. So the user experience have a different aspects, and for sure, we need to look into each one of them, but we have a lot of them. Once we define the user experience, the big challenge or the idea is how do we correlate, or is there any correlation between user experience and business outcomes? And here I'm kind of bring two examples, one of them coming from O'Reilly and the other one coming from Forrester. And I found these examples very interesting because the first one is talking about the difference between the user expectation while comparing various products. So, for example, in this case, the user expects less than 2 minutes while comparing a product features. However, he is much more tolerant when it comes to inserting credit card number. It means that if we will not provide him a good performance less than 2 seconds, we will lose this customer, right? And this is a pure correlation between the user experience and the business outcome. Same goes with the other example, that if we put in one of the US wireless provider, put some kind of customer experience index, and put aside what is this index, right? But the main idea is that when we're trying to increase 1 point in improving the user experience, the result is additional $175 million in our revenue. So I believe there is a pure, and actually this is proof, that there is a correlation between a good user experience and a business outcome. When we do have a good user experience, we have, at the end of the day, happy customers. We do have a good reviews. Our overall brand looks good. Everybody's talking about our application, the value of our application, and so on and so forth. At the end of the day, if you're looking at the bottom line, yes, it's also increased the time that the user is spending with us on our application, and as a result, probably increased our revenues and sales. On the other hand, if something goes wrong and you don't have a good user experience, the results, the immediate result is that users cannot really engage with you. So if you have a downtime, we can see the Gartner and the IDC research regarding how much money you lose every hour that you are not in up and running mode. But this is kind of a very hard measurement. What about the brand protection, and what about reducing the risk about people may not use your application but because they are not trust this application anymore. So all of this make us really want to have a very good user experience because A, we understand there is a correlation between user experience and business, and B, we do not want to lose money. We want to have to do more money. So with that in mind, we kind of put a research around what is the maturity of the market regarding user experience. And I have to admit that we were kind of surprised regarding the market awareness of user experience and the correlation between user experience and a business and what happening actual in the field. So we learned that 74% of app teams actually failed to proactively examine the user experience metrics in production. So on the production side, there was no way for them to be alerted of user experience issues. The other interesting data point is 72% of the team actually waiting for the first customer to give them the fact that there is a user experience issues. And the surprising part is that even inside the dev cycles itself, we learned that it is acceptable to 40% of our apps team to release an application which is not meeting the UX criteria, as we call it in the quality testing, or the UX objectives. The real question is, we do know that user experience is so important and impacting the business. On the other hand, we kind of have a gap between the understanding and the implementation. So let's look at who exactly looking into the user experience and who needs it in our organization. The first one will be the IT operation. This guy is the one that typically will run the knock as well, and typically he would like to talk with you about service assurance to make sure that the services, the application actually, is up and running and performing as expected. When you will talk with him about user experience, is about the application is available and giving you a good enough performance to work with. When we're looking at the business side, and we can call it the business, it might be the marketing side, it might be the application owner side, but this area, what they want to have is the best application because they are measured on the fact that they have a good application. And I actually, 2 weeks ago, I came back from Mobile World Conference, and the amount of money that the business is spending in order to acquire a new user is amazing, right? Now, if the new user meets a bad application, he will just walk away. So the business itself spending a lot of money in order to get the user. Now he wants to make the best in order to keep the user in this application and keep him using the application. The DevOps, they need visibility of the application issues from user action from the client side to the server side to the line of code. So high-level user experience monitoring guy. Okay, so his kind of guidelines of optimizing your user journey. The first thing is kind of slice and dice. Who are your users? Okay, and I don't know, for some reason the animation is not working. The next one, so know who your users. Typically, you will look into the geolocation, you will look into slice and dice of devices, and OS and so on and so forth, browsers and so on and so forth, to know exactly what is the way that the users are communicate with you. The second one is about understand your user experience. So understand the user experience is about availability. It's about performance. But this is the obvious one. These are the ones that we are, for a long, long time, been looking to availability and performance. However, if we moving fast in time, what we are looking right now, it's much more than this, right? is the battery consumption for an example. The data usage of my mobile application, right? The number of crashes and so on and so forth. The next step is about the user journey. It's not only about the user that's using your application. What you want to understand is how exactly you consume the data on your application, how exactly you consume the actions on your application. The last part is about correlating the user experience issues into the backend services, and this is in order to be reactive to an issue, to be able to respond quickly on the spot and fix an issue. All right, now I understand. Here we have a summary of all the things that you need to have, or the guidelines in each one of these parts. Sorry. So in order to deliver a delightful user experience, what is the requirement? First of all, you need to start with synthetic monitoring. Okay, you need someone to make sure 24/7 that this application is up and running. It should be from different locations because you want to make sure that there is no issues with the network, there's no issue with the location. And if there is an issue, you want to make sure that this is not a data center issue, but better to be a location issue. Then you need to have a real user monitoring. The real user monitoring is your way to really understand and to slice and dice your users. This is the way that you can gather all the data in order to take an action, in order to improve yourself. And the last part is about transaction monitoring and diagnostics. This is where you want to be able to correlate yourself to the production issues and to fix things with the most visibility and less interaction that you can. You need all the data in your hand in order to fix stuff. Back to the person that we will kind of look into, who is looking into UX, right? User experience. The IT ops, actually what it needs is someone to always try his system. Someone that will give him 10 minutes ahead alert that something is going wrong, okay? The business will look into a way to measure everything that it can. Later, he will be able to slice and dice, to do his exercise, but first of all, I want to know all. I want to get the most wide information that I can get, whatever it is. Let me decide later what I can do with this. It might be that I will use it in different tools, but basically first, I want to make sure that I get every and each metric that I can. And the last one is the DevOps. It's about tracing the user transaction down to the line of code and actually to the exception and to the log entry. For each one of them, for the IT ops, what it needs is a proactive monitoring. Is some user that will always try to ping his system from different location and will at least give him 10 minutes ahead alert that something is going wrong, okay? This will really help him to stop the bleeding of the SLA and stop the clock of the SLA bleeding for him. This guy is responsible for SLA. He's running a business of service availability. Second one, the business, it's about user experience monitor. It's about catching everything. And the last one is the DevOps. They need transaction analysis. They want to have not only a tool that will show them everything, but they need a tool to make them really work fast, be able to just fix and be able to get all the things, all the context in one place in order to eliminate communication and eliminate wasting of time. So we come into the solution. This is the HPE AppPulse Suite. This suite is actually composed of 4 different components, and we will talk about later. We will drill down to each one of them, but from high-level perspective, we do have the Active. The active is the proactive, continuous, real-time synthetic monitoring. He can run against a lot of applications, starting with mobile, web, legacy, desktop applications, Citrix, and so on and so forth. So this one is the kind of the keep alive, okay? I want to make sure that I keep alive from different locations to make sure that I can alert ahead of the time if there's any issue. Then we have the AppPulse Web. The AppPulse Web is about the real user experience using your web application. Everything that we can collect on the user, starting with clicks and page loads time and single page application pages and Ajax calls and so on and so forth, we will collect everything for you. Later, we will see what we can do with it. The mobile application is adding a different dimension, a way different dimension of the level of things that we are collecting. It's collecting everything. It's starting with a click, with the actions, with the battery, with the data consumption, and so on and so forth. The last part, and I believe this is very important from architecture perspective, the trace component is serving as the quarterback as each one of these applications. So if you have an issue with the active, if you have an issue with the web client side, you can actually go from the client issue, from the web issue, from the page error or whatever it is, one click, and you will get into the server side in the right context, in the right exception, in the right log entry, and in the right stack trace. This suite is actually integrated not only by APIs. This is integrated because they're running on the same infrastructure, they're running on the same database behind the scenes. A quick go through these components. So the active, as we discussed, first of all, it gives you a visibility, a 24/7 visibility into all of your application. It is a synthetic monitoring, right? It's not a real user, so it's not getting tired, and it will work in the middle of the night as well, right? So it gives you a heads up even before the first user trying to log into the system. It also can give you understanding of where is the issue. Is it only the page or something else? One of the advantages of using the location, different locations, so it means that, for example, I have two locations that are trying to access the application, one coming from New York and the other one coming from San Francisco. So if I getting alert that there is an issue, my first question will be whether this is a data center issue or a location issue. So if this is a location issue, this is a lower priority, right? Because this is part of the users suffer, but the rest of the world can work with my system. Another important advantage is that it's about very easy installation. This is non-intrusive solution. So we're using the traditional load runner, QTP, FTP scripts in order to emulate this user, and we're using it in different locations. Basically, you can be up and running in 5 minutes, get your baseline of being able to know what is the status of your system. The next part is about the AppPulse Mobile. In the AppPulse Mobile, we have a huge amount of data that we are collecting. Starting with the performance, with the launch time, and we will see it in the demo, in the UI response time. We do talk about stability, about crashes and crash logs, and being able to identify the trace or the user action before the crash. We do understand how to measure the resource usage, whether this is a battery, whether this is a data usage, whether this is a Wi-Fi, and so on and so forth. We know how to identify it and to draw it very nice and intuitive, the user flows. We will talk about it. This is people always saying this is like the Google Analytics, but it is not. This is much more because it gives you the additional layer in order to be able to improve yourself. The last one is the one that we just added in the recent version. It's about user reviews. This is sentiment analysis. We are able to slice and dice whatever you have as a reviews on the stores and we are able to give you yet another dimension of user experience, and we will see it later in the demo. Regarding the web, again, we do focus right now on the performance and the stability. We know how to track the slow pages, the load itself. We know recently, or in the last version actually, we added a single page application page time load, and we continue to support the AJAX calls and the ability to trace the AJAX calls and investigate them. On the other side, on the stability side, we also have the page view with arrows. We do support the single page application again and arrow by types. Behind all of these models, again, we do have the trace model. The trace model is the quarterback. He's getting all the balls, right? So if you have an issue with the client side, if you start to investigate, what you want to have is delivering the ball to the dev team or to the app support team or whatever team. You just want to give them the full information in order to operate and fix the issue. And this is what we call Trace 360. You're getting the error in one click. You're getting the right context. You're getting the right time frame. You're getting the right stack trace. You're getting the right exceptioning happening in this stack trace, and you're getting the right logs that being logged to the error or information log and so on and so forth. With all of this, this is the suite itself. If we have a quick summary here, so first of all, this is a SaaS solution with the great benefit of being able to deliver end-to-end solution as a SaaS solution. Second, this is a proactive one, okay? So it gives you a heads up before you have an issue. It alerts you. It's actually blocking the first user. That it's not the first user that will tell you that something is wrong, but you will be able to start fixing the issue 10 minutes before or 15 minutes before the first user tries to log in. It is identify which performance and stability issues are the most important, right? Because at the end of the day, the backlog of what we need to do is endless. We always have more. The big question is what will make the impact? What will keep my user inside, whether this is the error or whether this is the response time or whether this is the flow. The last part is being able to correlate into in a very fluent way between the client side, between the browser, between the mobile application, between the agent itself, and being able to get down in the right context to the line of code, to the exception, to the log, in order to operate quick and get all the information in one space in order to fix as soon as possible. With that, I think that I'm okay with the time, so I'm happy. With that, we're going to move to the demo. Terry, all right. And I will ask my colleague, Joel, to drive this demo. Thank you, Joel.
Thanks, Liron. So my name is Joel Karas. I'm the product manager for the AppPulse Suite. We will take the next 15-20 minutes to go through the demos with the entire AppPulse Suite. And we will start with AppPulse Mobile, but AppPulse Suite is basically a SaaS-based solution. This is our next-gen APM suite of products. We put a lot of focus on the simplicity here, and that it will be a self-service. I believe that you will see it in the next few minutes. So as you can see here, you can navigate to the different products from the top bar. Here we are standing on AppPulse Mobile, but you can of course switch to different products. And the first landing page on AppPulse Mobile basically gives you a snapshot of all the applications what is the health of these applications in the past 24 hours, including how many users visited these applications, what is the application state, what is the average response time, and this will already give you some a glimpse if you have a problem with the application or not. Okay, now we try to give you basically all the necessary information so you can understand if you need to improve and what you need to improve that yield the highest ROI. In today's world, basically, we have limited resources in very advanced world. Just think about the number of devices, the number of versions, applications, operating systems, name it, right? Every combination of these basically require different focus, and you cannot focus on everything. So in order to help you understand where you need to focus, we give a score for each and every application, in this case 82, we call it the Fundex, okay, and let you also understand where you lost points. So you can see that 4 points were lost on performance, 12 points were lost on stability, and another 2 points were lost on resources. So if I would like to make the highest impact on the application, this is the first thing that I need to focus, the stability issues. And we will drill into this, and immediately you see the main user actions that led to most of the crashes. Now, user action is the main entity in AppPulse. Basically, everything that is being collected around the user action. Every swap and every tap on the screen, this is something that is captured. We call it user action. We name it automatically, and basically, from that point on, we try to give you all the information around this user action, if it's important for you, if it's causing a problem, if it's causing some issues, and how to fix these issues. So in that case, you can see that in the Advantage mobile banking application for Android, on the check deposit screen, when the user click on the scan button when they wanted to scan a check, 210 users suffered from this user action. So this is something that definitely we need to fix in order to make the highest impact on this application. Now, in order to start the investigation, what you need to do and how you need to, what you need to do in order to fix it, we provide you the stack trace, but another interesting thing that we provide is also the device state. So if I, for example, just would provide you the stack trace, the QA team, the R&D team could, in this particular example, could try to investigate this issue for years and would not find it. But as you can see here, since I also provide the device state, you can see that there is almost no memory left. So this might help to understand maybe this is the root cause of this problem. But more interesting is the crash trail view. Basically, we provide a view of everything that the user did, every tap, any gesture on the screen, on the application, till they had a crash, is captured and documented. So basically, you can see it here, and of course submit a defect to the QA team through different defect management systems, through an email, and even through chat apps, HipChat and others. Another very interesting view is basically how the user behaves with your application. As Liron mentioned in the beginning of this call, basically we would like to make sure that our users stay with us. on the application. And if they are leaving us, I would like to understand why. So this view provides you pretty good visibility to how your users behave. So you can see that most of them start from the login screen, and you can see how many of these users move to the account screen and how, on which gesture did they use. But this is a lot of tools can provide you in the market. We can also try to explain why the customer left you in each specific screen. So you can see here exactly that we have more than 55% attrition rate in this transaction screen. And it might be explained since 15% of the user action took more than 2 seconds. Same works if they had a lot of crashes, right? If we have a lot of crashes in these screens, a lot of users going to banish us in this step, and we would like to reflect it to you so you can improve it as well. Another aspect is, of course, the performance issues that were detected. Again, same logic. All the user actions sorted according to the criticality. You can see that in this case, on the brokerized screen, when the user click on the Get Stock Quote button, 2,400 users had performance issue, and basically the average response time for this particular user action is more than 70. It's around 7.5 seconds. While according to our statistics, it should not exceed 2 seconds. Okay, and again, same like the crashes, we provide you pretty good visibility on where the issue was on which thread. We have this nice threads analysis. We also show all the methods that we had. So basically, you can immediately understand where is the issue. Now, we discussed about the complexity of today's world. So in the different OS instance, devices, and so on. So in order to help you understand where to focus on, you have this view, and this is basically a breakdown of all the OS instances. You can see that the size of the bubble is basically the number of users on this particular operating system. And you can see that in KitKat 442, we have a problem. It's almost 6 seconds, the average response time. But it's not enough in order to fix the problem. In order to fix the problem, you need to understand basically on which devices exactly you have the problem, and we also provide that. Now, the next thing that I would like to show you is basically how to handle errors. Now, again, with AppPulse, you can detect the specific user actions with the specific error. We know the error that the user saw on the screen, and with big data analytics, when there is an HTTP error which is associated with this error message, we capture it as well. And not only that we capture it, we also help you to continue to the investigation on the server side. Okay, and this is very powerful. Now, we just now switch from AppPulse Mobile to AppPulse Trace. And the screen that you can see here is the Trace 360, and you see here a very unique graph. This is basically the transaction timeline, the hills view. And each hill here represents the self-time of the self time of each and every operation. So basically, you can see that which operations had an impact on the overall transaction or not. And you can see on this graph exactly if they had crashes or not, if they had an exception or not. But more than that, you can see here all the exceptions that the user had, and also all the logs that the user had. Now, the nice thing about Trace is that it's call the transaction, and basically every component in your backend that this transaction went through it is being called, and only the relevant logs are being captured. So basically what you see here is a story, which is very intuitive and easy to read and understand where is the problem. So this is in a nutshell AppPulse Mobile and AppPulse Trace, but I would like to show you one more thing that was just added to AppPulse Mobile. Actually, it will be in production in the next 2 weeks. But it's basically the sentiment analysis that we added. So the sentiment analysis is basically a way for us to go through all the app stores, collect all the reviews, feedbacks that was collected by that was provided by the end user. And we give you a pretty nice, interesting snapshot on what your real users actually thinks about you. So you can see here the rating on the store, but this is basically the rating that we provide based on the our sentiment analysis. Okay, and you can see here exactly how many users, how many reviews you had over time, with and how many reviews you had on each and every version. And the nice thing is that we also categorize it. So you can see that the score on each and every category. Okay? And if it's not enough, we can also give you the ability to see in this view what your user thinks about your applications versus what your competition user thinks about your competition application, and where is your strengths versus your weaknesses. And this again helps you understand what you need to do in order to improve. To complete the picture, I would like to use the next 2-3 minutes, and then we can open the line for questions. I would like to walk you through AppPulse Web. It's basically a new product in the AppPulse family, real user monitoring for a web application. Same like we are doing with mobile, just for web applications. So as you can see, everything is similar to AppPulse Mobile that we just reviewed. The fun decks, the same idea to help you understand what you need to do in order to improve, and the next call to action. Now, in AppPulse Web, we also provide you all the pages, the real pages, and the single page application, just to make sure that everybody understands this terminology. There are new, modern languages that basically support single-page applications. So, and you can navigate in your web application through different places without changing the URL. And this is something that we already capture and give you a visibility if you have even a problem in this particular single-page application. But it's not only that. We also give you all the different Ajaxes and iframes in each page, or whether if it's a single-page app or a real page. And we have this very unique correlation between the different Ajaxes and the load time, the perceived page load time, because not every Ajax has an impact on the user, or the user can see the impact of it. So we try we created this correlation to help you understand again where to focus. And again, we help you understand, once you understand what you need in order to focus, we basically, again, help you continue this investigation on the server side. Okay, and this is where Leron asking to get the mic back to walk you through Trace.
So thank you very much, Joel. Terry, could you go back to the demo? Yep, thank you. So the trace functionality, as just Joel mentioned, is the quarterback, is the one that at the end of the day, when you kind of trying to start the investigation from the client side, you want to end up with the end user, with the backend, the backend application, see what's wrong with the Java calls, .NET calls, and so on and so forth. And the first one that we just show you is about transaction health. So if you're looking at the overall, just from the server side, now we kind of disconnect from the overall information about the client side. If I'm looking into the server side performance, what I have here is actually the service health, which means I can create my own logical groups. For example, the Tomcat area that belongs to whatever application. I can talk about the application service. It's a different services being provided by WebLogic. I can just group all of them. For example, here in the backend Java WebLogic, what we can see that we have two nodes that related to this logical group, and I do have the statistics about the behavior, the performance. Okay, what I can do here is click and drill down and really understand who is the service that's calling me, where does the group of servers who is calling me, and what is the average performance about it. And actually I can see also where my request going to. So in this view, what we can see is the backend Java WebLogic is getting a request from frontend.NET, from Advantage Online Banking, and from frontend Java WebLogic. Okay, so you see here, for example, frontend Java WebLogic that handle a request, create a request to the backend Java WebLogic, which going to another backend server. So you create your own call stack here and understand, first of all, who is using you the most, for example, and what is the kind of traffic between all of these services. 5 more minutes. Here, I'm going back to the failed transaction, and what I want to show here is that investigation, again, just emphasize that typically once you investigate the performance, the end result will be coming here to see the actual thread time. Where does it spend the time? What are the operations? And so on and so forth. In order to investigate, what you want to do is actually first understand the operations, the calling between the servers and between the components. And then, for example, here we see a very high bar. And if I will click it, I will see actually the query that's being asked. and I can investigate and go to my DBA or whatever who will give me the database support and ask him to look into it. As just Dror mentioned, we do have the logs running through it. Typically, when I was a developer, this kind of 360 information really make my life easier. It was easy for me to correlate between the trace, the stack trace, between the logs, between the exception in one single place. With that, I think that we can go back to the presentation mode. Terry? All right. And my next slide is about customers that we have that being able to use our suite in different flavors and different use cases. The things that you can do with this flexible SaaS solution is like a puzzle, so you can build your own solution in order to get the value as soon as possible and to grow with the solution. It's not one-stop shop. You can just start with Active, start with Trace, start with Web, and then move forward, or even start with mobile if this is the current project that you have. Last is where do you want to start? And I would suggest to each one of you just visit the hpe.com software AppPulse, and then you will be able to first really quickly download the how-to guides and being able to actually test. For example, if you want to test your mobile application, it's about 15 minutes. Not more than this. If you already have scripts coming from LoadRunner, you can set up and running service assurance in less than 5 minutes. So the effort for you in order to start see the value, it's really, really minor. With that, I would like to start to open the line for a question. Terry?
Thank you, Lion. Thank you, Dror.
I can see that there are some questions on the link, so let me just go through it very quick one by one, and if afterwards there are more questions on the line, we can open it. So there was a question how AppPulse is different from BPM. So BPM is our synthetic monitoring solution. AppPulse Active is the next-gen solution for synthetic monitoring. It just provides the same. It provides more or less the same functionality, but in easier way to consume this data, to configure it, and more than that, AppPulse is a SaaS-based solution. There was another question about AppPulse Mobile, if it's working with real device or emulators. Basically, we are working with both. Everything that can report data to AppPulse can be captured and processed in AppPulse. There was another question about our organization change. So yes, AppPulse is part of APM, and the APM now is part of the bigger application delivery management stack, basically. And the reason that we went to this direction is because we believe that APM should reside near the applications team. We believe that we will be able, and we are already able to serve bigger DevOps story with all the information that is captured in production and transition it to the applications team and the developers teams. Another monitor-based application. So another question, I can understand that AppPulse is SaaS-based too. My customer requirement is to monitor web-based application. Then should I go with AppPulse or BPM, or would you recommend any other HP tool? So BPM is synthetic monitoring. The question is basically if a customer needs synthetic or real user monitoring. Okay, this is the first question. If they open to SaaS or not. This is the second question. And then again, what kind of customer he is? If they would like heavy functionality, everything can be editable. Heavy configuration, this is probably more relevant for the classic tools, while if they expect it to be self-service, is to use, of course, AppPulse is the right address, though it does not capture all the richness and bit and bytes in the classic tools. Another question, is there a demo license available for AppPulse? Yes. AppPulse, we offer a trial for all AppPulse products. Just visit our website, sas.hpe.com. You can find all our products there, including all the videos, collaterals, information, and of course, a way to start a trial. Which stores do you capture the user comments? Yes. So the sentiment analysis that we just reviewed, the comments are being pulled from the Google Play and the App Store, from both. Which languages do you include in the user comments for sentiment analysis? Basically, the 10 most common languages are being captured, including English, Spanish, Italian, French, and others. Our AppPulse support to AWS and Azure environment monitors. So I guess the question is about synthetic monitor, and again, one of the nice things about AppPulse is, especially AppPulse Active, is the wide coverage of protocols, and that it's not intrusive way to monitor your application. So from our perspective, it doesn't really care where is your application, what exactly you need to monitor. If you want to monitor the application through your data center, outside of your firewall, inside of your firewall, if your servers on Amazon, Azure, agnostic to us. How will event forwarding work? Alerts to OMI console. Yes, so we have a lot of customers with OMI or classic APM. We have an integration with both of out-of-the-box integration with both, with OMI when we basically deliver the events, or to APM Classic when we provide the entire metric. So basically you can consume AppPulse data and use AppPulse as a data collector in both of these systems. And another question was, can we use the same scripts to monitor from inside the company environment? Yes, you can leverage the scripts that were already, just to make sure that I understand the question, you can leverage the scripts that you use the same scripts for inside of your firewall and outside of your firewall, again, agnostic for us. And more than that, you can even leverage, if you're using HP testing tools, you can leverage the scripts that you wrote during the tests and use it also afterwards as a synthetic tools. How it is different from Back Anywhere. So Back Anywhere is just the ability to use our point of presence around the world using classic APM, while AppPulse Active provides both of the services. The point, you can use the point of presence around the world, and the BPM tool, the synthetic tool, is going to be AppPulse Active. Are there any questions on the line as well? Terry, can you open the line?
They need to type in the questions. I can't open the line for the audience.
Okay.
So we'll give it one more second if anyone has any additional questions for the HPE speakers. Go ahead and type those in. Otherwise, we can have Ajay close out the webinar.
Well, thank you very much.
Yeah, sorry, Ajay. Basically, it's Drew, myself, and Dan are available for any other question and follow-up. It is an easy-to-use and easy-to-show and easy-to-trial system. So you are willing to jump in. If you have any issues, just let us know.
Sure. Dur, Lyron, Don, thank you very much for attending the webinar today. Thank you, Terry. We will share the slide deck and the presentation via email, and it will be available on the website. Thank you very much.
Maybe just one last thing. I just noticed that another question just was posted. What kind of device or application overheadage is there when using AppPulse Suite? Again, very important question. We keep pitching about how important it is the resource usage. If we measure the battery consumption, the data consumption, and now you go and take a piece of code, add it to your application, which theoretically consume resources. So basically, it serves the opposite. You are going in the opposite direction. So this is one of the reasons why we put a lot of focus to make sure that the resources that are being consumed by AppPulse are minimal. And we didn't cover it, go through this in the demo. And we even went through went through this through demo. But if you will take a trial, you'll be able to see it. We also collect all the URLs, all the SDKs that reports data back, and try to sort them according to who consume how much data. And you can see us there also in this list, and I can promise you that always we are going to be on the bottom of this list. So yeah, we put a lot of focus on this. More details, technical details about AppPulse resource consumptions are available on our website.
Okay. Thank you, Dur. Well, thank you for attending today's webinar. There will be a short survey, and if you receive it, please help us complete the short survey. And the slide deck and the recording will be available on the website. Thank you and have a good day.